All right, we're here with Brandon Maurer, who is running for at-large city councilor. Brandon, it's great to meet you, man. I've never met you before.
No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
And so tell me about your decision, to go for an at-large seat on the city council. You announced, I think, way back in early March. Now it seems like way back now. But tell me about your decision-making process and what led you to this.
So I'd say my retirement from the state police back in 2019, I've kind of reinvested my life into community work. I'm on the YMCA board of directors. I'm on the NAACP as a political action co-chair, and I'm also on the Barrington Stage Company's community advisory board. So, as a guy who's been here his whole life, I've always felt that I've had a call to service. I formerly was on the Pittsfield Police Department as well, and I've always felt like there was a natural progression into life, and since I've kind of had to change my career path, that I thought this was probably the best thing for me, and I hope that I could be, of help to the city if that's something that becomes available to me.
And looking at it, and you're in the process of still recovering. You had major surgery a little time back, and that was, an injury that forced your retirement from the state police. So, that in itself is got to be a process. What is it like, recovering and getting back on your feet?
Well, I gotta say, I've lived a life over the last couple of years that I never expected. As you can see, my sweet pillow behind me. It's I'm still kind of couch ridden, but I can say that I'm out of pain. I went through the gamut. I was in the pain clinic. I had multiple shots in the back. It's one of those things that I didn't really realize what pain could do to you until until I went through it myself. When it came to opiates and so forth, that was a part of my life for about 4 or 5 months, and it was very scary. But I'm happy to come out on the other side of it, and I've spent a good amount of my time trying to reinvent myself and get really connected to the community.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that and no better way than going through it to see, what happens to people and what the challenges that people have through pain and how many people have become addicted to those painkillers. So, keep up the good work in recovery. And certainly, in your past life as in the state police, you saw a lot of that and the outcome of those addictions and so forth. But also, you're the coach of Pittsfield High School's boys basketball team. So even before your retirement, you were doing that. That's quite a role. As a former PHS basketball player myself, it's that's quite a responsibility.
No, I love it. It's when I first decided to do this, I went through the gamut of making sure I didn't have to leave my position as the Pittsfield High School basketball coach, because that's a no-go for me. I absolutely love coaching. As a biracial male from this area, for me, it's very important to cultivate responsibility and accountability through our Black youths, and I feel as though that I've been a good voice for those for the kids that have been in my program. I might be a little hardened at times, but I think that that's been a well-received method through the parents and the administration. They've really backed me on how things have gone in the program since I took over about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like being a coach. You talk about leadership. When it comes down to those things, there's nothing more immediate than the leadership that you have to provide as a coach, in a lot of ways in life. I mean, certainly, I think that that's a powerful thing and something that sports, but also leadership, good stuff right there. So tell me about what you've been hearing and what your process has looked like since pulling out papers. And I assume you pulled out papers the first day they were available or close to it, getting your signatures and so on. What does that look like in your campaign? What are you hearing, and how is that maybe shaping your message?
So I'm incredibly green, as they would say. I'm definitely new to this, but I will say that I've had a lot of positive reception, and I'm really just trying to listen to other people. My first bit of campaigning would be I started my listening tour for businesses. I want to hear from other people. I don't want my own personal politics or anything that I'm looking to represent the city, and I don't think that my own mindset per se. I think my experiences will help, but I also want to make sure I'm a voice of people. As a in the position of an at-large city councilor, I just want to do the best I can to represent. Uh, and I think my time here in the city in community work has been something that really puts me in a position to do so. I think my I think everybody has come to me as just kind of tired of the political atmosphere. Not I wouldn't say it's a negative one per se. The national media has really pushed so much negativity towards politics that um, it kind of pushes to how people think about local politics as well, even though it's not. They're really not. I'd say parallel. I think there's a lot of things that you can grab from the national media that you can help form your ideals and so forth. But I'm looking I'm looking to represent just short of 50,000 people in Pittsfield, and I hope I can do that. In the best way possible,
Yeah,
that's through listening. I think.
and you raise a good point on the sort of perspective of what is politics, and I think in our culture, for a long time, and it's not just Pittsfield, it's probably all over our country, politics has become a third rail. Like, you don't want to talk about politics because it has become so divisive. But I think it's even before this most recent stint of divisiveness in politics. I think it's kind of been sort of our culture in this country that talking politics is not what you want to do with the Thanksgiving table or at the dinner table, that sort of thing. When in reality, especially in local politics, and especially in local government, we need to be having these conversations, and I've always been a proponent of, hey, no, we should be we should be having these conversations because it leads to the quality of our schools, it leads to the quality of what is our business friendliness in our city, what are the conditions of our infrastructure, and so on and so forth. That means something to people. So the conversations are good. So you're on a listening tour with businesses. What are you hearing from businesses?
They just want fair treatment. I mean, I think that was the number one. I've gotten so far is that everybody wants to be treated fair, and um, as time goes on through the city, they just want to be represented. Even if they're not on North Street or so forth, they want to be treated similarly. And then I think try to just to keep an open line of communication. People want their city councilors. They want to see their face. They want to talk to them. They want to get to know them. And I think that's who I am. I'm a community guy. I want to meet people in the community. I want to hear their concerns, and I want to incorporate them. That's why, to a degree, I'm happy that I'm new to this because I'm not going to, I don't want to do anything that would be counterproductive or counterintuitive to to helping businesses. And I think by doing that, it would be by talking to them and just in getting those relationships.
One of the restaurants that was, or actually the industry itself. There's multiple restaurants that were impacted with COVID when they were shut down in Pittsfield, and other communities. Actually, restaurants were able to stay open during that time. That was quite a controversy. Um, I'm sure you've heard about that, and it's, of course, hindsight's 2020. But at the same time, thoughts on what Pittsfield did during that time, versus other communities that stayed open with the restaurants.
Yeah, I would say that's a judgment call that you can't make. I feel like no matter what you do, I mean, when it came to even sports for that matter,
Yeah.
there was a side that was hardcore for it, and then there was a side that was hardcore against it. I think one of those when it comes to, like you said, when hindsight 2020, it's COVID was impossible to really make the right decision, if you will. I think everybody did their best. It's hard to I don't really want to be critical. I think I don't know what I would have done to differently at the time. I feel like everybody's trying, and I think that too. I don't really have like a visceral reaction to a lot of the things that went on. I definitely, I think we could have done better. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm hoping to hear that from the businesses. I really do.
Mm.
And I think that'll be helpful to shaping how I go through it.
Yeah, and I think the more dialogue, the better. And
Yeah.
I think that is important. I think that's an important role of city councilors. So so looking at things for you. So where do you go from here? Are I know physically it could be a little bit challenging, but what does it look like? You're going to be knocking on doors. You're going to be doing events. What is kind of the scheme look for you for the campaign?
So I'm probably going to do a fundraiser in the next month or so. I'm just going to try. I know it's kind of challenging to do the door to door thing. I actually I've talked to some people who are running it, and it's funny because people go knock on doors and people are actually inside, won't even come up to the door. So
Yeah.
which is fine. So I, even with my signatures, I took a beating to my back, but I drove around the city and got signatures that way. I did it all by appointment, and which was really great too. I got to meet people face to face, and they knew I was coming, and we could, they'd have questions for me, and offer bits of support, and I thought it was great. I could tell you that I haven't been out in public for probably about a year, not even because of COVID, because of my body. And it
Right.
feels nice to be out there and just seeing people
That's
again.
It really does, and as the weather changes, it certainly gives us all an ability to go out and get a little sun, get a little, social interaction. Whether and I just think that I'm hoping and praying that 2021 will be a little bit more normal. We're all hoping for that. So, and then of course there's the team too. So, it's interesting because I was just having this conversation this morning with a cousin who has kiddos who are playing, and there's like soccer going on, there's baseball. I mean, like it seems like every sport is being played right now. But what's happening with basketball? Is that done for the season?
Yeah. So we had a 2 week season.
Wow.
Yeah, we did. It was a challenge. I mean, I had kids come back. You know, it was us and Taconic that really started and played 2 weeks, and we were playing teams like Wacona, Monument, who've been playing for months.
Yeah.
So after sitting around for an entire year, they get to find out that they're playing like in 2 or 3 days, and you play basketball. Conditioning is a major
Oh,
part of the sport. Uh,
early
Heavy,
season early season basketball is not always fun, let me tell you. Right.
and then add insult to injury with kids that probably put on 20, 30 pounds because they've been playing Fortnite and Call of Duty for the last year. And it was challenging for me, mostly through injury. I was really worried. We played 7 games in basically 14 days. No, 8 games in 14 days.
Mm.
Going from nothing to a lot. I was generally concerned because I wasn't sure if I could keep them safe from hurting themselves. It was, I could, every day they come to practice and somebody'd have an ankle that would be sore or so forth. I'd shut them down because I was just I'm more worried about their health and safety than anything else.
Right.
And
And you're
that's
more
my fault.
worried that they're going to be healthy the next 3 to 5 years in their life, than making sure that you have a good 2 week season. Yeah, that's tough, man. That is, I just can't even imagine. And especially when other schools had played for many weeks. That's tough.
Well, we played our first game was against Monument, and they made us look like we were 45 years old and 50 pounds overweight because my kids didn't even get a chance really to run. We had one practice beforehand, and they were a well-oiled machine, and they just ran up and down. They were like track athletes versus if I were to get up the way I feel right now, it'd be like that's how I think they felt for like the first game.
Oh my gosh. Well, here's to next season. That's going to be hopefully way more normal, and conditioning won't be the same kind of issue. But the one good thing I really love, and is that at that Pittsfield High School basketball court, they got a nice wooden court. See, back in the day when I played, they had that rubber court. I don't, and I think there were more injuries on that thing than you can imagine.
Oh yeah. I was really excited because that came on when that must have been 6 or 7 years ago when that was first commissioned, and yeah, that was a welcome thing for everybody in the program. We were all super excited that happened.
Long overdue. I'm sure there was a lot of ACL injuries and ankle injuries on that other whatever that was. I don't want to think about it, but Brandon Maurer, a great pleasure meeting you. I wish you the very best in your run. I think the more voices, the better. Your community involvement is clearly significant, and you're out there. And I wish you the best with your health. And have a great campaign. I'm talking to you down the road, I'm sure.
I appreciate it. Absolutely. I can't wait to come back.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. All right.